The latest Golden State Warriors news and rumors by Chat Sports is a big trade coming. Bob Myers, the Warriors GM, says they will be aggressive on the trade market leading up to the deadline.
I love the Golden State Warriors because from top to bottom, this is an organization that has structure, it's an organization that has a vision, and it's an organization that has a plan. Part of that, Bob Myers. He understands that Steph Curry is in the midst of a magical season right now. And Steph Curry, we talked about Joel Embiid and LeBron James being in the thick of things in the MVP race. You can throw a couple of other names that are worthy in that discussion. Steph Curry is right there. And when Steph Curry is playing at this clip, at this rate, you have to do everything you can to capitalize on this window. So for Bob Myers to say, we're going to be aggressive on the trade market, I absolutely love it, because if they add a true elite piece, it's not only going to help Golden State this year, it's going to help Golden State for the next couple years, because I think Steph Curry's game is going to age well if his ankles hold up. I think Klay Thompson's going to be able to come back. Yes, Draymond Green isn't the same player that he once was because he's gotten a little older, but he still is a valuable player and leader for this team. So it's not only upgrading the roster for this year, it's also upgrading the roster for years to come.
Here's Bob Myers said, and it's a balancing act as far as what makes sense now, but doesn't hamper us in the future. And I think that part's key. We'll be aggressive. We'll look around. I think we'll be more open in making calls and listening to calls than we have been in the past. Because obviously in the past, they've had championship caliber rosters heading into the trade deadline. You lose Klay Thompson this year, that changes things. Obviously, they're a big piece short of being a true contender. You think they should be buyers. You're all in on the aggression from Golden State here.
You know what I really miss? Sometimes we get dynasty fatigue, where when a team goes on a dynasty run where they compete for championships for, let's say, a 5-10 year window, we kind of get fatigued by it. We get worn out by it. I actually miss the Golden State Warriors being true title contenders, because when they were in the midst of their dynasty run, they were so fun to watch. The Splash Brothers, when KD hopped on board, the team was unconscious, and they were must-watch television every single night. Now, Steph Curry, he's still must-watch television, but other than that, Golden State has some holes. So, yes, I think that Golden State should capitalize on what they have this year, build around Steph Curry, make another run at it, because as an NBA fan, that's what you love to see.
And they've got the firepower to make some moves if they want to. James Wiseman, don't think they'd want to, but for the right player, he's a strong chip there. Kelly Oubre Jr., he's got a movable contract. Andrew Wiggins, if you can find the right team, maybe a third team gets involved there. He's improved in Golden State. The biggest one of all, potentially, is that 2021 first-round pick from Minnesota. That's top 3 protected, so maybe it turns into a 2022 pick. That's still going to be top 5 in all likelihood. And then their own first-round pick as well. Golden State has the trade chips to make something happen. It's just a matter of if they can find the right trade to pull off, because like Myers said, we'll be aggressive, but we're not going to mortgage our future by making a trade unless it makes sense right now. So should the Warriors make a trade? Type A for yes, type B for no. I definitely think they should. I don't think I'm quite to your level in the sense of they should just do it just for the sake of doing it, which I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I think it's got to be the right trade. Like, I don't think they should get a rental. Like, a one-year guy doesn't make sense with Klay coming back next year. Get someone that you can go with Klay and Steph for the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens. Get your votes in on this one, A for yes or B for no. We've got some James Wiseman drama here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Steve Kerr actually benched the rookie big man last night, but I did like the way he responded in the second half, Chase.
Yeah, anytime a young player kind of gets disciplined, it's all about how they respond. And sometimes a coach will take that action to see how a young player will come back from it. And for James Wiseman, this is a player who in spurts this year, we've seen him have a lot of potential.
Yes.
And if he's with the Warriors moving forward, this is a guy who's going to be a franchise building block for many years to come, or he can be a crucial trade asset. So it's important for him to display his skill set for him personally, for his own good, but also for the Golden State Warriors in case they want to put him in as a trade chip. But yeah, responded well by playing in that second half. And for a young player to do that, to battle and overcome adversity, that's what you like to see, is that mental toughness.
And let's just hit the reason why he got benched for the first half. Missed 2 COVID tests during the All-Star break. Grand scheme of things, probably not a big deal. It's probably just hanging out at home.
Right.
He basically just said he forgot. But I think this is important from Kerr saying, hey, this is a championship culture. Like, we're going to do things by the book here.
We don't mess around here.
Yeah, I think this is a good message to send to your young rookie here. Here's what Kerr had to say. Not going to go into detail, but this is part of development as a young player. Got to take care of your business. Everything matters. This was just a reaction to him missing the test and not being able to practice last night. That hurt us, and so that was the reason he did not play in the first half. Good for James Wiseman. He owned it here as well. He said, look, I make mistakes. I'm human, and I completely forgot about the first 2 days of COVID testing during the break. Said he tested the last 2 days. Made a huge mistake, but I definitely will not do that again because I just got to make sure that I just be disciplined in terms of that. So saying, hey, look, I screwed up. Made the last couple of tests, not going to happen again, and that's a good response from a young guy because there's a lot of stuff going on when you're a 19-year-old in the NBA. How about what we saw after halftime, though? 6 of 7 from the floor, 14.7 boards. This is the flashes you were referring to, Chase. If this guy buys in and continues to improve, this could be a new element of Warriors basketball that we really haven't seen because they've never really had a true center.
Don't even get me started on the rules in the NCAA because the fact that this guy's career was cut short after such a short amount of time at Memphis was a disgrace. He would have been great for college basketball last year. But there was a moment earlier on this year where I saw James Wiseman block a shot on the wing, then he got the ball back and handled it, and he almost looked like Kevin Durant to me. I'm not saying that James Wiseman projects to be a Kevin Durant type player, but he has that type of athleticism. That's the type of potential that this young player has. And so far this year, he's flashed at times. I'd like him to be a little bit more consistent because there have been some lulls at times during games and during stretches this year, but averaging a little less than 12 points per game. I think this is a guy who maybe in a year or two could be a double-double type player averaging 18 and 10.
I'm excited for James Wiseman. I want to know how excited you Warriors fans are about the young rookie. Scale it from 1 to 100. 1 being, this is a crappy pick. 100 being, hey, this is a future MVP. I'm like an 80-85. I was skeptical at the pick. Obviously, it hurts a little bit how good LaMelo Ball has been, but when you have Steph Curry, you opt to take the big there. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to give this one an 85. What about you, Chase?
Yeah, I'll give Wiseman, let's go 84. I'll go right under you. Okay. How about that? Let's go back and forth a little bit.
Scale it from 1 to 100 there. Chase and I, we're pretty excited about his future. Today's show, we've got some St. Paddy's Day NBA-themed gear for you guys. The day is almost here. March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and if you want to represent your team while wearing some green gear, go to this link on screen. It's chatsports.com/NBA green. All 30 NBA teams, shirts, socks, hats, long sleeves, short sleeves, some hoodies, all types of gear is available at chatsports.com/NBA green. Don't get pinched on St. Patrick's Day. Go ahead and represent your favorite team. And I'll throw this out there, too. If you're a Celtics fan, you can wear this stuff all year long. It just fits in right with the Celtics culture there. So we'll put that link in the comments. We'll put it in the description. St. Paddy's Day is almost here. Chatsports.com/NBA green. Go ahead and represent your favorite team before the holiday on March 17th. Let's go ahead and start with LaMarcus Aldridge here, Chase. Looks like he's on the move as the veteran and the San Antonio Spurs have agreed to part ways. They're going to look to explore a trade for the veteran big man.
They are, and maybe the San Antonio Spurs can trade LaMarcus Aldridge. It might get to the point where they don't have any leverage, and they might have to possibly let him go, and then LaMarcus Aldridge hits the buyout market. I kind of put Aldridge in the same category as Blake Griffin, who we covered at length last week when him and the Pistons agreed to a buyout. They're not the same players that they once were, and they have a lot of name power, but Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, if they hop on board to title contending teams, they're going to add front court depth, they're going to add playoff experience, and I think they both could be reinvigorated a little bit and give those playoff teams a little bit of a push. But LaMarcus Aldridge, an interesting name because he's a big who can stretch the floor. Now, he's not going to average 20 and 10 like he was in his prime, but LaMarcus Aldridge certainly an intriguing possible trade candidate, and if he goes on the buyout market, there are going to be a lot of suitors.
I will say I do think there's a chance he gets traded compared to Blake because, final year of his deal.
Yep.
That was not the case with Blake Griffin, and not the injury concerns. Now, certainly LaMarcus Aldridge's game has dipped. He's not quite the volume score, but the efficiency is still pretty solid there. 46% from the field. Like you said, he's worked on his three-point game later on in his career. I think there's a chance they can find a trade for him. Contract this year is $24 million. They're going to have to find the right team. Maybe a three-team trade is more likely, but I do think it could happen. But to your point, a buyout ultimately could be the result if they don't find a trade between now and March 25th.
The buyout market has become more and more valuable over the last several seasons, and for a lot of these teams that make deep playoff pushes, make runs to the NBA Finals, there are some players on those rosters over the last couple of years who have been key contributors who were acquired via the buyout market. So, as I alluded to earlier, I don't think LaMarcus Aldridge has a ton of value right now as a trade asset. Yes, he has an expiring contract, but he's currently expensive. So, yeah, I think Aldridge is a guy who could possibly hit the buyout market because I just don't think that the Spurs have a lot of leverage right now.
You remember when the Mavs added Amari Stoudemire late in his career, and people were like, man, what does he have left in the tank? And he averaged like 12 and 8 with Dallas.
Yeah.
I think he could be that low minutes, high volume type of guy off a bench on a contending team. So we'll see what happens. We want to know from you guys, what is the more likely scenario for LaMarcus Aldridge? Type T for trade, type B for a buyout. I want to know from you guys what you guys think the more likely scenario is. I'll just mention some teams that I think could make sense. Lakers number one.
Yep.
I think they're going to scour the buyout market. Look at what Brooklyn's done. They already added Blake Griffin. If you're a team like LA, yeah, you're the defending champs, but your front court's a little thin. Anthony Davis has been banged up, and obviously Marc Gasol has not played to the level that he used to play, obviously. Maybe LaMarcus Aldridge could be a fit there. And then obviously Boston could use a big. A team like Golden State, I think, would be interested if he gets bought out. But I think especially LA makes a lot of sense here.
LA certainly makes a lot of sense. And I do want to make a point here in saying that LaMarcus Aldridge defensively, he doesn't really have a lot of defensive potential or ability anymore. He's somewhat slow on his feet, but for a guy who can hit elbow jumpers and extend the floor and space it a little bit from beyond the arc, he can do that and be a valuable player offensively.
Maybe a little defense office staggering between him and Marc Gasol. Gasol's still a decent defender. That could be an option if the Lakers do become a viable team for LaMarcus Aldridge. So predict it for us. Which team will Aldridge go to, whether it's a trade or via buyout? Go ahead and comment down below and let us know on this one. Let's talk P.J. Tucker now. Similar boat as LaMarcus Aldridge. The Rockets and P.J. Tucker have come to an agreement that he's not going to play in Houston anymore. He approached them and basically said, look, I'm out. We've lost 14 games in a row or whatever it is. It makes sense for me to move on. And ultimately, it makes sense for the Rockets to move on and go ahead and let go of the 35-year-old veteran at this point.
He was a healthy scratch on Thursday, and I actually feel bad for Stephen Silas because this guy has worked so hard his entire career to finally land a head coaching gig, and he thinks that when he is named head coach of the Houston Rockets that he's going to take over a team with some star power. Russell Westbrook, even though I'm not a huge fan of his at this point in his career, still productive player. James Harden, they brought in DeMarcus Cousins, of course Eric Gordon, P.J. Tucker, and you're thinking, okay, this could be a pretty solid playoff team.
Yep.
And then what happens? James Harden says, I want out. Russell Westbrook gets traded. The Rockets fall apart. They bring in John Wall. He's just been okay. Now P.J. Tucker wants out. It's kind of unfortunate for Stephen Silas that he finally got a gig like this, and it just hasn't worked out.
And I think the frustration was pretty felt in this quote. We'll just read it for you guys real quick from Silas. We're going to try and figure something out that works for him and works for us as far as him not being on the team anymore. I was under the assumption that he was going to play tonight, and he didn't play. That was disappointing. He decided that he was just not really with it, and we decided that he was just, he decided that he was not really with it, and we decided that that's a good idea. Let's move on. So Silas there basically saying like, okay, you want out. we'll just dump you, because I think Silas is trying to instill his culture in Houston of saying, okay, like, you don't want to be here, we'll get you out. We got to rebuild, and that's really my main point here, Chase, is that it is time for the Houston Rockets to just bite the bullet and rebuild. It is time to go in a new direction. You lost Harden. Okay, it's time to go. Oh, you offer Oladipo an extension for some reason. He says no. All the signs are pointing to commit to the future.
Yeah.
Like, this era is over. I know, Daryl Morey, while he was there, was super aggressive, and obviously their owner, Tillman Fertitta, he wants to win a championship, but this is the reality of professional sports. The windows open and close, and they close very quickly, like they have here on the Houston Rockets. Now, I want to ask you this: Tucker moving forward. Okay, he'll get traded, he'll get bought out. We'll see what happens. What are some teams that you think can make sense? I think the Lakers are also a fit for Tucker because they've been linked to PJ Tucker.
The Lakers, when it comes to the trade deadline and these 2 weeks leading up to it, when it comes to the buyout market, the Lakers are going to be in play for a lot of veteran players. And as we've talked about on this show before, anytime a seasoned vet hits the open market, LeBron James, the general manager, is going to inquire about his services. But let's pull up this list of potential PJ Tucker destinations. The Boston Celtics are at the top of the list. Brooklyn Nets are also there as well, but them signing Blake Griffin might take them out of the sweepstakes for PJ Tucker. And then there are 3 more teams that we want to get to. Teams like the Golden State Warriors, who are at the bottom of the Western Conference playoff standings. They need depth, they need toughness, and they need some front court physicality, so you have to put the Warriors into the equation. And as we mentioned, the Los Angeles Lakers. And then, of course, a team like the Milwaukee Bucks could also be in play for PJ Tucker as well. So, LA has reached out for PJ Tucker, and they are definitely interested in him, according to reports.
Bucks, by the way.
And if you want to play small ball offense, defense in the playoffs, and you want to put PJ Tucker in at the 5, as we know last year when the Houston Rockets went with that infamous small ball lineup, it was PJ Tucker at the center spot. So he has experience playing the 4 and the 5. He can hit some threes as well, and LA seems to be a prime team that PJ Tucker could hop on board.
Yeah, look, Tucker's not a stats guy, never has been, and especially isn't at this point in his career. If you're bringing him in, you're bringing him in for defensive versatility and toughness come playoff time. It's as simple as that, and I think that has a lot of value for veteran basketball teams or for young teams who need more veterans on their roster. Some of those teams we showed you fit both of those categories. So who will trade for PJ Tucker? Go ahead and let us know on this one where you guys think the veteran from Houston will end up.